Commissioners Ways and Means Committee of the Whole. We'll start with calling the meeting to order, and we'll rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Lana, will you call the roll, please?
Lathrop?
Yes.
Max Bauer?
Here.
Lemkool?
Here.
Thomas?
Yep.
Inman?
Here.
Rennie?
Here.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am. All members present. The next item is the approval of the minutes of the March 19th regular session.
So move. And second.
Motion by Rennie, second by Lathrop. Is there further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. This brings us to the first opportunity for public comment. If there's anyone in the audience wishing to make public comment at this time, we will have a second opportunity at the end of the meeting, and we'll also take comment during discussion of specific agenda items. Bill, go ahead. You'll introduce yourself, please.
Do you want her to read it?
Read the rules.
Sure. I'm pretty sure that everyone in the room is very familiar with the rules, but go ahead.
Works for me.
All right. Any person shall be permitted to address a meeting of the Board of Commissioners, which is required to be open to the public under the provision of the Michigan Open Meetings Act. Public comment shall be carried out in accordance with the following board rules and procedures. Any person wishing to address the board shall state his or her name and address. No person shall be allowed to speak more than once on the same matter, excluding time needed to answer commissioners' questions, if any. The chairperson shall control the amount of time each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall not exceed 3 minutes. The chairperson may, at his or her discretion, extend the amount of time any person is allowed to speak. Public comment will be solicited during the 2 public comment periods noted in Rule 5.4 Order of Business. However, public comment will generally be received at any time during the meeting regarding a specific topic currently under discussion by the board. Members of the public wishing to comment should raise their hand or pass a note to the clerk in order to be recognized, and shall not address the board until called upon by the chairperson.
Having heard the rules, go ahead, Bill, if you'll introduce yourself, please.
My name is Bill Klaus. I live at 5523 North Hannah Road, Kingsley, Michigan. I may need a little bit more time. I do have a group of people that I'm...
Let's go ahead.
Okay. At our last meeting, at the last commissioners meeting, I was directed to ask my questions that I wished answered regarding the drain commissioner to Dave Benda. I did so. I would like to read some of the questions and some of the responses.
They're in the packet.
We have the letter
We have
of
them.
response in our packet, Bill, if you,
Okay.
that'll help expedite things.
Okay, very good. First question was, has the drain commissioner charged any cost to the county for soil erosion duties? The response, he has submitted travel expenses to meetings with local units regarding stormwater ordinances that they were considering, and travel expenses related to soil erosion complaints. So the first thing that concerns me is that if he's submitted expenses, I'm wondering if they were paid or not. And do we know if they were paid or not?
Yeah, it's on the agenda.
Yeah, under public comment, we're just going to listen to the comments, and then we'll respond during the agenda item.
Okay. So you're going through each one of these then?
All of those items, the questions and the answers that were sent back to you, we will have as an agenda item, and we can discuss it at that time. Public comment is made to receive comments from the public, not to create a dialogue between commissioners and the public at that time.
Very good. Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to make public comment at this time? Seeing none, we'll move forward the agenda. Are there any items to be added?
Mr. Chairman, I have an item on the table titled East Bay Township's public comment disclosure that they have, and all I would like to do is just defer this to council for his opinion, because they're currently reviewing our public comment language at this time. So you can either put it on the agenda, or we can just
I think we can just forward that.
just give it to council. And then I think the administrator has the I think we're all set on the resolution that's in here, isn't it?
It's not on the agenda.
Yeah, he has a resolution for the revenue sharing that we asked him to come back with.
Is there any other items to be added? I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of the resolution opposing proposed spending mandates by the county and county revenue sharing money.
So be it.
Motion by Limcool, supported by Rennie. Further discussion? Go ahead.
I brought this up last week to you, Dave, and I noticed now all of a sudden we have the by percent for unfunded pension liabilities. Do you think this is what we're going to see going forward? I noticed the governor did it with the schools, with the MEA, by sending money directly to their retirement fund as opposed to giving it to the schools. I brought that up last week. We didn't think there would be any things coming off that or strings attached. Does it look like we're going to see more of that?
I don't know. I mean, right now it's in, we can discuss it when we talk about the, this agenda item, but no, it's, right now, we're waiting to see how the machinations of government, work on this revenue sharing proposal, and it's not settled, and it's not moving right now. They're working on a lot of other things, and they're going to come back to this. But proposals have been made, and that's what's outlined in this resolution.
We will have that item as an agenda item then. Do we have a motion by Limcool, supported by Rennie, to approve the agenda as amended? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. This brings us to the consent calendar, if you would, please, Lana.
The purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one committee motion without discussion. Any member of the committee, staff, or the public may ask that any item on the consent calendar be removed therefrom and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such requests will be automatically respected. If any item is not removed from the consent calendar, the action noted, receive and file or approval, is approved by a single committee action adopting the consent calendar. A, receive and file. 1, 2013 Annual Report of the GTC Planning Commission and Planning and Development Department. 2, Resource Recovery Manager's Report. B, approval. 1, accept RAP grant funding. 2, County Board Rules of Order revised. 3, 2014 hauler license.
Having heard the consent calendar, is there any item that the audience wishes to have removed from the consent calendar? Any item the board members wish to have pulled? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar. Motion by Thomas, supported by Limcool. Any further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry, roll call vote, please.
Max Bauer?
Yes.
Limcool?
Yep.
Thomas?
Yep.
Inman?
Yes.
Rennie?
Yes.
Lathrop?
Yes.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am. Moving along. This brings us to, we have no special orders of business. Oh, yes, we do have a special order of business. Craig's here tonight. Craig is going to do a presentation in regard to the Code Red update.
Thank you. Good evening. This was brought up to me by Chris Kramer, Local Government Month, and forgive me, it's been so busy. I did not have time to give you anything for your packets or to give anything to present. So I'll go through this rather quickly, and hopefully, any questions follow up. I can give you some materials later on. But I just wanted to take this moment in lieu of this being Local Government Month, and we've had some things, and it's been about a year since I've been on board, to give you a state of emergency management within your county that you represent. And the first thing I'll address is everybody's way familiar that occurred was the flooding issue and the weird weather that we had this past weekend and the beginning of this week. Luckily, we seem to be spared again. We did have some trouble issues. Sunday night, Monday, I was out most of the night assessing and making sure our citizens were taken care of. Our trouble spots, Boardman and River Road, Boardman Plains, we came really close. Again, water levels approaching or exceeding what they were when the dam broke. So it was touch and go. And then Logan's Landing, some of our local experts, Steve Largent, George Champlain, they weren't concerned. I was, because it was getting kind of high, and we don't have any infrastructure issues down on the west or the east side of Logan's Landing, but I was concerned with the traffic impeding and coming up overtopping the road there, but it never did. And overnight then, Monday night into Tuesday, it receded rapidly, about 6 to 8 feet. So we're still experiencing very high and fast current, especially in the downtown area now, and the Boardman going out. But we seem to escape that pretty good, and we're fortunate. Some of our neighboring counties are dealing with a pretty big mess. Wexford, Misaki, they're hammered pretty good, and still dealing with a lot of flooding issues on the Manistee River. So we did send out a code red Sunday night. It met with success. I've had some feedback from some of the citizens out on River Road, complimentary to the system, wishing it was in service back when we had the flash flood. But nonetheless, one citizen in particular was very thankful because the water came to her porch, but she got that warning at 8:30 and was able to collect some of her yard furniture she'd put out there, so she didn't lose it down the river. So it seemed to be a success. Moving on to that, with the Code Red update, we're up and running. We've done a countywide all test, and from that, one of the biggest things we found was we had about 7,000 unsuccessful phone calls within that first database. And what Code Red does and that company does is they're able to go through, and those unsuccessful numbers that either met with an insistent busy signal or what an operator intercept, basically the tones with the numbers been disconnected. They're able to go and do a slower test over a period of 3 to 4 days, which we did the end of February, middle of March. And with that test, that found 4,125 numbers that were no good, that would in turn bog down the system a little bit if we did an emergency. Those numbers were removed from the system. And then since my last update, forgive me, I don't remember the last time I gave you an update of enrollment. Since that time, from our website, from the county website link, we've had 2,400 new enrollments that weren't in the system. We've had almost 2,000 new text number enrollments, 1,500 new email addresses, and almost 2,400 new weather warning subscribers. So we are continuing to build into the system and get more enrollments into there. Some great news I want to share with you all with that. We're in the final processes of bringing NMC on board. They're going to come in as a cost share partner with us. They're getting their own enrollment page set up specifically for their college students and their campuses. They're going to have their own ability. Right now, from my understanding, when they have to close school, when they do a snow day or they have an emergency, the one person in charge of that has 4 or 5 or 6 processes that he has to go through in different places. Coming on board with Code Red and how we're setting up the system for their college, he's going to make one. He's going to make one. It's going to streamline the system. And the other thing that they're excited about is they were never really able to notify their students directly where they were or whether they were on campus or off campus. Now they're going to be able to do that within a technology of a student's text. They're also going to be able to forward that message onto their social media sites, etc. So in turn, as coming a partner, we're going to advertise together at their major fundraising activities, especially for our mobile application that we now have. That's exciting. And then Metro Emergency Services, they're also in the final stages of coming on board with the contract. So we are partnering with our non-governmental public safety partners and private partners to cost share and effectively be more able and readily to notify our citizens and our students and visitors and share the costs and ultimately actually bring the cost payer or the taxpayers' costs down and make it more fiscally responsible, which was our hope for that. The other thing I'll show you, I brought some, and please, on this back table, I need your help with getting out to some of these villages and townships some of the marketing materials that Code Red made for us. We've been doing a great job of disseminating these in through the senior centers and all of that. So I have some table tents that are great and some full page, they call these church bulletin ads, and then these are like utility inserts. So if you're out and about, because there's more of you than there is me, I brought some that I'm going to leave. Please take them and share and disseminate. The more people we get registered within the system, the better that we can notify them. The other projects with that, we're working with Bayshore Marathon and Cherry Fest in their brochures and newsletters going out to all of our tourists. They're putting the mobile app link in there and the quick scan. So anybody outside of the area that has a smartphone can scan that, and while they're here visiting, they're going to get emergency messages if there are any that comes out. So I wanted to clarify with for everybody that if you register through our website, through our county website, your home address or your business address in the county, you will always, always, always receive those messages for that address within Grand Traverse County. If you get the free mobile app, there is an add-on fee after 30 days that the National Weather Service wants. The federal government wants their piece of change. You don't have to get that, but that mobile app for our citizens, that mobile app gives you notifications no matter where you are in the United States. So for instance, there was a tornado that went through Grand Rapids, Muskegon this past, even up and through Midland. If you would have had that mobile app when you're down in Isabella County, because they're code red, you would have got that tornado warning on your phone based upon the location of your phone. Likewise, any tourists or visitors that were in our county that had that mobile app that don't live here Sunday night would have got the flash or the flood warning on their phone.
Can I ask a question? Greg, I don't have, a fancy cell phone. I've got a real old antique one, and I love it. But I can't download apps. Now, I did get your emergency warning Sunday night on my home phone. Now, if I'm traveling with my antique cell phone, if I have sign up for Code Red with my antique cell phone, if I'm down in Isabella County, do I get a warning for that, or does it have to be an app?
Yeah, you won't get what's happening in Isabella County. You will always get the warnings of what's happening for your address in Grand Traverse County.
Okay,
You have to have the app to get the warnings from other jurisdictions
all right.
nationwide.
Thank you.
So that's where the app plays.
Okay.
And that's why we're targeting the app download to our visitors, tourists that come in here that may not live in the county.
Okay.
We'll still give them the warnings when they come in. So I've been answering a lot of questions, so I wanted to clarify that the register through our website, if you live here or you work here, you always get those notifications. If you travel or if someone's coming in from out of the area, recommend that they get the app.
But her non-smartphone will still receive a call.
For Grand
She's
Traverse
registered.
County?
For Grand Traverse County, yes, but not for anywhere else in the United States. So that was the differences for that. So we're working, Bay Shore and Cherry Fest. We're actually, Code Red is actually doing some graphic work for us to merge the Cherry Fest logo and the Code Red Grand Traverse County logo with that QRS scanner. And once we work that through Cherry Fest, that'll be some nice brochures to go out. Plus, we'll promote that anybody walking up downtown can scan it and get the app right away. And other than that, we're working on having a Code Red booth at the fair. We chose the fair just because that's more of our county citizens and visitors than Cherry Fest or any of the other places. So, and then just some preparedness activities that we're dealing. We've got some huge scale exercises. The 51st Civil Support Team, they're the best of the best of the best in the United States as far as it comes to chemical, biological, nuclear, and environmental emergencies. Radiological emergencies. They're coming here in May, hosting a region-wide hands-on exercise, testing our plans, policies, and procedures, first responders, our emergency operations plans with an agri-terrorism incident, which is a huge threat for here, and it's becoming more of a viable threat throughout the world, of a threat to our food systems and growing. So we're going to have that big exercise in May. I invite any of you to come out and observe and participate. It's going to be everything from hands-on from our hazardous material teams to patient, to our state epidemiologist in a mobile lab, to an actual emergency operations center activation, which we haven't done in our new EOC yet. So we're working with that. We recently, emergency management recently prepared and hosted discussion-based, created and discussion-based exercises for the National Cherry Fest organization and operations staff, testing their mass evacuation policy that they have. And just today, this afternoon, we had a very successful exercise involving an active shooter scenario at Grand Traverse Mall with their management, their security, Sheriff's Department, Metro Fire Department, North Flight, City, and Rural. 22 of our public safety professionals sat and discussed discussion-based incidents and scenarios for that, which hasn't been done in a long time. So school lockdown drills, so busy with that. The new law and legislation coming out, putting it on our county and our emergency managers to make sure our schools are scheduling lockdowns and fire drills and wind drills and doing it. And I just want to share with you, I've been all over the United States. And I'll say Grand Traverse County and TCAPS being the forerunner, our schools are way far ahead of the curve with their training and preparedness with that. This is a very serious, legitimate threat to every school nationwide, and it's ever changing. Just when we think that we have a policy in place, that we know what's going to happen, we can plan on it, somebody does something different. Fire service has done a great job with alarming and fire drills and lights. There has not been a fatality in a school fire since 1961. They're doing something right. What we hope to do for lockdowns is the same thing. We hope to start to prevent them and cut them off. I'll share a quick story with a school yesterday we're at doing a lockdown drill. Elementary school, there's 4 classrooms out at recess. We didn't know that when we went in there, but there's 4 classrooms out at recess. The lockdown started in another part of the school. The notification came. The staff notified the teacher that was out on the playground. A blast of the whistle. The kids line up and they're gone. 32 seconds. They were gone. And some people get concerned about that. That's 4 classrooms. That's almost 100 students that removed themselves from a bad situation in 30 seconds. Impressive and well-deserved. And that school, we applauded their staff and their students for knowing what to do. So that's just one of the many success stories that we're seeing in our schools. But we're not putting a false sense of security. We continue to change the scenario. We continue to push the envelope when working with the school boards in the different school districts, just because we need to. We want to keep everybody non-complacent and on their toes. So that's really all I have for you. I don't want to take up the time. You have a long meeting, but I appreciate the offer from Mr. Benda and Mr. Kramer to come present and give you a state of
Do we have
emergency.
questions for Greg? Dan?
Greg, that phone call I got about flooding in my home, was that your voice on that phone? I
Yes, sir.
thought so. You're a good speaker. It was a good job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was sitting at home watching TV in my chair and launched that call from home that night.
I was impressed with that,
That's how
yeah.
easy the system is to use.
Well, I thought that was Greg. It was you. Yeah.
was.
Cool.
All right.
Further questions, comments? Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Okay, this brings us to department items. The first item is the Health Department cremation permit fee. Wendy?
Wendy Trout, Grand Traverse County Health Department Health Officer. I'm here tonight on behalf of the Office of the Medical Examiner to request permission to establish a cremation permit fee, otherwise known as a burial transit fee, or a burial transit permit fee. Burial transit permits are required for all deaths, and depending on how the body is disposed, whether buried or cremated, that determines kind of the final way that they're tracked. So a cremation permit fee is required by law and state statute, and it requires that a funeral home director and medical examiner must sign off on the cremation permit. Medical examiner doesn't have to sign off on burials because a cremation is considered a final disposition. Once you cremate somebody, you can't undo that. You can't exhume the body and do research or investigation. Currently, there's no fee in place, but the number of cremations has continued to rise. So it's becoming more popular as the economy has kind of struggled along. It's more cost-effective. So from 2010 to 2013, we have an increase from 785 to about 978 permits. We expect that we might be over 1,000 this year. There's about 1,200 deaths recorded in our county each year. 800 of those are actually Grand Traverse County citizens. So a third of them are non-county citizens. So right now, essentially, taxpayers are paying all the medical examiner costs, even for people who are not from our county. So this is one way to try and get revenue. Not that we're looking to tax during people's difficult times, but it is an issue in our county. We have a regional health system, which brings a lot of people to our county. Most leave alive, which is good, but there are some that die and some that have to go to the medical examiner's office. So with that being said, I was able to get data on all the counties and cities throughout Michigan. About 44 of the 110 jurisdictions that do vital records have a fee. The average fee is about $40. The mode, which is a measure of central tendency as well, is $50. So that's the most commonly charged fee. My recommendation, and I wanted to have some discussion, because Herb and I have had discussion, is establishing a fee somewhere between $50 and $75. $75 is the highest in the state right now, and $50 is the fee that's most commonly charged.
Let's have a motion first. Motion by Rennie, supported by Limcool.
I would like to do it for $50. That's my
Okay.
motion.
I will not support that.
Okay, I have a motion by Rennie to support a fee of $50. Do I have support?
I'll second that.
Second by Inman. Discussion. Herb?
Yeah, the reason why I don't want to support this is I really feel the $75 fee is more appropriate, mainly because we found out that our medical examiner is not getting paid enough money. And if we have to continue to look for a new medical examiner, it's going to cost us a lot more money. And by doing a lot more money, it's going to come right out of our general fund. And I really support this, the $75. I told Wendy if I had a preference, I'd put it at 100, because, you know, when you start looking at 1,000 permits, that's $75,000 that we can go toward paying for a medical examiner for our community. And that's just from these fees on this, and then there's also other fees. So I think that we really need to charge the maximum that everybody else is doing, and I understand the cost, I understand what it's going to be as an impact on some of the people, but those that are using the services need to pay for the services.
David? Did you want to comment?
It was basically the same comment, that we are going to have to increase costs for deputy medical examiners, and for, there's another thing looming in the background is the morgue. The hospital's not real thrilled about having a morgue downstairs at Munson, and upstairs, sorry. I don't think of it as being downstairs.
Now they move it about everything.
But at any rate, and there's other issues with the medical examiner that are starting to become new costs to the county. And go ahead.
I was going to say, I think our medical examiner, he's the chief medical examiner. He's served our county very well, and he's been very judicious in some of the investigations, and
Cost of autopsy is going to go up.
yeah, I mean, the cost of autopsies, since we send them to Grand Rapids, it's somewhere between $3,000 or $3,500 every time there's an autopsy. That includes transportation, and it's time for law enforcement to stay there. So at some point down the road, we will be looking at other options for our county that might serve us better. But to do that, you'd have to have a pathologist. And pathologists are a lot more expensive than, a doctor who doesn't specialize. So pathologists are the ones who can actually do the autopsies. It's a ways coming, and I'm continuing to do research. I have a meeting tomorrow at Munson. Another issue is unclaimed bodies. I think I've mentioned this once before. As the economy continues to struggle, families struggle, and some of them can't afford to actually step forward and claim their loved ones. And there is some assistance from the state, but it's very specific, and you have to go through a process. And right now, a lot of the funeral home directors are kind of stepping up and absorbing those costs, and it really should be the medical examiner's office. So there are some additional things out there looming.
Chris?
Wendy, I've got a couple of questions. We are a regional hospital. If someone from Leelanau County comes to Munson and passes, and an autopsy is required, does Grand Traverse County pay for that, or does Leelanau?
It's the county of death.
Okay.
If they are brought, say they're found at home,
Right.
and they're brought and they're pronounced in the ambulance and they're still within
Right.
Leelanau County, then it would go to Leelanau County.
Okay. I understand that I needed to clarify that in my own mind. And that being the case, and I know I'm not just talking about Leelanau County, I mean Benzie County, and Antrim County, and et cetera, I agree with Commissioner Lemkool, and I will not be supporting Commissioner Rennie's motion.
Dan?
I'm a little confused, back a few years ago, my father died, and, we had him cremated, I paid the bill. So what is this $75 for? Let's say pardon?
It's for the permit, yeah.
So you have to pay 75 or 10 or 50. You have to pay to get a permit, and then on top of that, you have to pay a cremation fee for the funeral home.
Yeah, the
Right.
cremation, the actual cost to cremate the body is what the crematory would charge. This would be for the actual permit.
And
And
who
you
col-
cannot cremate,
Who collects that? Would that be the funeral director? I mean,
no, it actually, we've already met with Bonnie Shealy with the clerk's office, and they would collect that as they do the death certificate fees currently.
Okay.
The cremation permits have to be initiated by a funeral home director, has to be a licensed funeral home director. So the general public can't go and request to
Okay.
have somebody cremated.
So many
themselves.
times, this has to be done pretty quickly, because usually, when you cremate somebody, you haven't embalmed them, and you only have a few days before they start deteriorating. So does all this paperwork happen that fast?
It can, but if it's a medical examiner case, sometimes those cases do take longer, and you cannot embalm a medical examiner case because they have to be able to, inspect the body in its
Okay.
natural state.
Okay.
But not all deaths are medical examiner
Okay.
cases, but anybody who wants to be cremated has to have approval of a funeral home director and a medical examiner.
So currently, if I understand this correct, Wendy, currently, if there's a body going to be cremated, they're required to have a permit anyway.
Yes.
But right now, we do not charge for that permit.
Exactly.
So the only change would be the permit that is currently required,
We're
there
charging.
would now be a fee for it.
Yeah. Okay.
Charlie?
It's cheaper than a casket. Oh, yeah.
Getting back to your data, you show a mode of $50. That's pretty much the number around the state if you look at it.
That's
low
the
of
most
$5.
frequently charged, that's when mode means, and 75,
Well, I would
there's
say
two less
if the
who charge
me-
75.
median is 40 and the mode is 50, that's lower than 50. So I would say 50 is about in the middle of it. And I think that would be fair.
That's
That would
why
be
I
my
brought a
position
range
on it.
of 50 to 75.
Now, other question for you. Why would you come in and say $50 to $75? Why didn't you just come in with a number then?
I thought it would be worth having some discussion with you all as commissioners. Herb had said 100, and so I kind of compromised and came in at 50 to 75.
So Herb said, you talked to Herb about this prior to this, you mean? Is that what you're saying?
Trendsetter.
Did I, not in any length.
Oh, okay.
I mentioned it to
No.
him, I think, at the last meeting, and said I would be coming here this week for this. He asked why it wasn't on the agenda last week, and I didn't have time to meet the agenda deadline. I was doing some more research, so that was the extent of our discussion.
The only other question I would ask on this is whether or not if there was a non-identified body, that would be, how do they take care of a non-identified person? And whether or not that's cremation, or whether it has to be burial? And whether or not there's a possibility that we could start some sort of a fund out of this to, if somebody wanted to apply for indigent, that they were not able to, pay for this, that there could be a way to be able to do that. And also, Chris's comment about whether or not it's a Grand Traverse County person, or if it's outside the county person, if there's a different fee that we could charge for out-of-county people rather than the ones that are inside the county. So I don't know these answers. I just was asking.
I suppose anything is possible, and I don't want to answer for Wendy, but I think you're looking at a logistics nightmare because of the fact that we have a regional hospital. Okay, they've been at the pavilions now for,
Those are
10
Grand
years,
Traverse County residents.
and now, but they really resided in Benzie County, so now are they going to pay a Benzie County fee? No, I think that would be a logistics problem. I'm inclined to go
Dean and,
make it a flat rate.
Dean and Bonnie Shealy and I did discuss that, and we talked about feasibility of a two-tiered, and I don't think any of us thought it was logistically feasible. I believe Bonnie would not be in favor of a $100 fee. She was in support of somewhere between 50 and 75. Funeral home director that I talked to, in support of somewhere in that range as well, but would not support 100.
Right, to just add to what Wendy said, we did meet, and we don't want to make this a difficult process for the funeral homes that we'll work with, and Wendy and I agreed on coming to you with a range because we didn't want to bring one number. We thought the board should have some discussion, and ultimately you will set the rate. Wendy and I don't have that authority, so you're having that discussion, so.
Thank you, Dean.
Chris?
I wasn't suggesting, in case anyone misinterpreted me, that we have two sets of fees. One for out of county and one for in county. What I'm seeing right now, or what I'm hearing or understanding, is that we have residents from other counties that come into Grand Traverse County and they pass. And when they are cremated, the Grand Traverse County residents, in effect, are, if there's some kind of investigation, Grand Traverse County residents are paying for other counties' examinations. And this, in my mind, is a way to fairly distribute the costs. And that is, I'm not suggesting that we have two sets of costs. I believe that Commissioner Lemkool is correct in setting the fee higher because we are such a regional draw for other counties.
Well, I guess the only comment that I make, I don't believe it's anyone's intent to have this be a revenue source.
No, that's not my intent.
I think it's just a matter of trying to be
Fair.
fair in that, these are a service that we provide to,
It is.
1,000 people a year. We should be able to recover some of the costs of providing those services.
It shouldn't be supplemented by the Grand Traverse County residents.
Charlie?
I think people from Grand Traverse County could pass in another county also, so there's probably some wash there, actually.
I hope I don't.
I'm not saying I'm wishing anyone in particular.
Is there?
I think there should be a consistent single fee for the county. If someone passes here, period, that's it.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to set the fee for the cremation permit at $50. Is there further meaningful discussion? Roll call, please.
Lemkool?
Nope.
Thomas?
Nope.
Inman?
Yes.
Rennie?
Yes.
Lathrop?
Yes.
Max Bauer?
No.
Wheelock?
Suppose I should have voted in first place. Yes.
Thank you. Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay, we've established the permit fee at $50. The clerk and the health director will notify the funeral homes of that directly. This will be ratified at next week's Board of Commissioners meeting.
Yeah, and I did ask for it to go in effect on June 1st, so we have time to notify all the...
Perfect. All right, is there, Wendy, did you have anything else?
Nope.
You? Okay, this brings us to MSU Youth Leadership Group. I think we have a small herd of young individuals here, so come on up, guys, and tell us what your program's about.
I'm just going to introduce this group of great youth that we've been able to work with. My name is Karen Stevens. I actually worked for MSU in Lean-Law County, but just last week transferred to MSU in Grand Traverse County, so now I'm the MSU 4-H representative here. But this is a United Youth Leadership Program. We began in February. These youth have done a lot in the past couple of months, and so I've invited them each to come and just say a little bit about what they learned, what they liked, and then we'll go from there.
Thank you. Don't let fear and common sense hold you back. Jump right up the microphone.
Hi,
Hi.
my name's Ariel. I'm from Grand Traverse County. I'm not good at public speaking. It makes me nervous and I can't think. So let's see how this goes. So I wasn't really planning on doing this whole 4-H leadership thing. One of my mentors kind of introduced me to it. Because when I think of government, it's not really on my high priority list of interests. So I tried it out, and actually I was surprised at how much I liked it. Because we got to not only visit our own county, and see what it was about. But we got to do Leelanau, and we got to go to the tribe, and just really get to see what this process is all about. I mean, because I'm a senior this year, and I go to West Senior High School, and I still have no idea what I'm doing, and I graduate in a month. So having this experience, you know, it opened my eyes to, you know, seeing what it's all about, because, you know, I think of government and I think of people who read a lot of papers and, you know, sit in a stuffy room. That's, you know, but like with this, I got to experience that it was more. I mean, the connections you make, the people that you meet, you know, and that made me, you know, more interested in government, and it may not be something I decide to go into, but, you know, it did spark an interest in me. I mean, did you guys all grow up deciding, hey, I want to be a commissioner? You know, I mean, like something in your life, or like something that happened to you raised that interest. And I think that this is a great opportunity, especially for younger kids, to come into this and realize that it's more than just sitting at desks. You know, you get to have all these experiences and meet all these people. And, you know, like, I may be one of you guys one day, you know, like, who knows where I'll go. But this 4-H opportunity gave me a chance to, you know, expand my horizons and, you know, get a feel for what it's like in the big world and stuff. So, yeah, that's my little spiel.
For not knowing public
I was
speaking,
gonna
you did a
say.
great job.
Tell her filing deadline's next week.
We have nights that we are not sure that why we're here either, you know, and how many pages we've read.
All right, thanks.
Someone else?
Hi. My name is Anya, and I'm from Russia. I'm an exchange student, and for me, as an exchange student, it was just great experience. I didn't really know about government, how it works, and I learned a lot. When we went through county government, through capital experience, it was just really cool to see that government, it's not just a whole bunch of serious men in ties. It's just people who are willing to speak with youth, to listen to us, and to, yep. Yep, it was really, really good. Really, really interesting.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anya, how long did it take you to become fluent in English?
I'm not fluent still, but
You're
like
close.
like 5 years, I think. Yep. And this year.
You speak it very well.
Thank you. Yep, we have another exchange student. She's from Ukraine.
Ah. Wow.
Yep.
Hi, my name is Yelena, so you know that I'm from Ukraine already. But here I'm from Leelanau County. So accept this great opportunity to be exchange student in the United States. I had an opportunity to be a part of this program, this youth program, which was really educational for me, like obviously because I don't know anything about government of the United States. So I learned a lot, and this program, like what makes this program unique is that it's not only learning but also fun, because you do it with people who are your age, and it doesn't make it as hard to get to know stuff and to learn it. We had chance to observe differences of different counties and to try how to solve issues which bother Michigan people the most, except snow probably, because it's like different. So what I liked the most, probably what was the most memorable for me, it was, of course, visiting a capital experience, like to see how it actually works, and probably breakfast, which we had with our representatives. It was a lot of fun. I had a nice conversation, and it was a unique experience. And I'm really thankful, like, for H, because 4-H made a lot personal for me. Like, it gave me opportunity to be an exchange student and to learn about government of United States, to get to know culture of United States. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Hello, my name's Andrew, and when we went down to Capitol Experience, I chose the Crime, Drugs, and Personal Safety issue group, and I was one of the youngest kids down there because I'm only in 8th grade right now, and I thought it was going to be like pretty scary because I thought it was just going to be a lot of like older 11th and 12th graders, but then it turned out that they were all like really nice and really supportive, and they really helped me. And when I was down there, I got to visit like the state police, the Michigan State Police, and then I also got to go to the court. And I was really surprised at court by the few number of like cases they take. And then the state police, I learned that like they actually do a lot of training just to get into it. And I was really surprised by what they have to do to get in. And it also taught me a lot about leadership and how to like stand up and like hold a conversation in front of people you don't really know, and to talk to like older people that might seem like scary at first, but then just kind of how to hold a conversation with them. And it taught me a lot about government, and I kind of really wanted to learn that because I wanted to know how to learn about it, and especially when I'm able to vote, which won't be for a while, but still, like when I'm able to, I wanted to learn what I should choose and how I should choose it and how I should go about that. And I think it taught me a lot about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Risa, and I've been in 4-H for a while, and I've done a lot of things through 4-H, and this was actually my first like experience like doing government stuff. I've done like a lot of what work ethic is and hard work doing animals at the fair, but this was really cool because like it came at like the right point in my life where I'm like trying to figure out what I want to do, and I was thinking about getting into law enforcement, so I was able to like go and tour the jails to see if I wanted to actually go into that field, and like going down to Capitol Experience, be able to go and see what theirs is like. And it was really cool because like the difference between like our county jail and the Michigan State Police and then the MSU MSU Police is like a lot different, and like Michigan State Police, they don't have a jail, so they all go to the county jail. But the MSU Police, they have a lot of the resources like we don't have. They have a polygraph test. They have a CSI, which I think we have. But it was just really cool to like see the difference through it, and it taught me like a lot about preventing myself to other people and stuff.
Thank you.
I think we had 2 more left. They're hiding in the corner. I see her moving around back.
Yeah, she's trying to hide.
I'm Adriana, and I'm from Grand Traverse County, and like this program was not only it was a lot of fun, but we learned a lot too. And like all my history teachers in school pretty much always told me like our political views as kids is usually like shaped by our parents, but then like going into this, I gotta like pretty much get our own opinion, and I don't know, it was a lot of fun. I liked it.
Thank you. Good. That it? It's fine.
So I think Karina's hiding behind there because she doesn't want to speak. But we had a great time, and they were talking about Capitol Experience. We visited the state capitol, ate with our legislators, had a great time. They picked issues that were important to them when we tried to pass bills and laws. And so I think overall it was an excellent program, and we're going to plan to do it in the fall again. So I appreciate your help with it, and I know Herb came and spoke a little bit as well. So
How often, can I?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I had an opportunity to address the students when they were here in Traverse City, and I was very impressed with the questions that they asked. But my question is for you, the leaders, what did you learn, and what are you going to take away and put it so that you make changes in the next class?
Oh, no.
Pop quiz.
You didn't know there was going to be a test, did you?
So I'm Bethany Prycookie, and I'm actually housed in the Kalkaska office, but I have statewide government responsibility. But I live on State Street, so I'm also a Grand Traverse County resident. But I think the biggest thing, we started this program last year in Emmett County, so this was our only our second time doing it. And so there is a learning curve. You'll notice the tribal students didn't stick with the program, and so I think the biggest thing is that we want to figure out a way to maintain the interest of the tribal students and to really have a better connection with the tribe so that we can maintain that, and that it truly is a bi-governmental program where they're learning about their county government as well as the tribal government and then state government. So it's not a comparison, but these are all the forms of government that really affect you as a student, as a citizen in our Grand Traverse region. So.
And this was my first time through it, so I had heard about it and thought it sounded like a lot of fun. I have an interest in government, but two things that I think that I would like to do different is to teach kids about different leadership styles and maybe do a little bit of that, the different types of democracy and the differences there. And then the second thing is I always have felt that it's important for leaders to serve. And so we're going to next time probably put in a volunteer opportunity where they're serving the community. So those are two changes that I would like to see for in the fall.
Now, did we pay for part of this, or is this part of Michigan State Extension?
This was MSU Extension, yeah.
So that's part of some of what MSU Extension does for our community.
Part of that 4-H money.
And I also wrote a grant through MSU.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
I have a question for you. How often are you fortunate enough to get exchange students? I just think it's such a wonderful opportunity for, not just for them, but for our students to be able to learn about their governments.
Well, I have been in this position for 2 years, and these are my second, so I've had one every year. Actually, I have 2 this year. So I've actually loved it and think that we've got to figure out a way to do it more, because I have enjoyed these kids, and I really am going to be sad when they have to go. So.
And we have both year-long and summer. So in the summer, for a month, you can also host a Japanese or a Polish student as well. So there's a year-long, which is a different program, but it's all for 4-H. So you could do one month as well.
So, by the way, nice picture of you guys in the jail.
Yeah. It was fun.
You know, I guess the comments that I would make is, on behalf of Grand Traverse County, we welcome you to be here. If we can answer any questions for you in the future, we're always available to help you with that program, either with the students or with the leaders. If you need help with guidelines or anything we can do to help, we're all more than willing to do that. As for the students, I hope that we continue to have you visit the courts and the jail from the outside of the bars. We support youth programs for one primary reason in our community, and that is to make sure that we don't have to support them through the juvenile court system. And, you know, what we spend on juvenile programs and those kind of things is more than offset by what it costs if we have to run them through the system. David?
You can watch this on television, but you can also get it as a streaming video off our website, and you can actually send a link back home if you want them to see your presentations. So it's all preserved for posterity, and it will be out there for a long time.
Is it possible, we had one student that had to do driver's training, and I think she might like to share. Would you like to share?
Certainly.
Hi, I'm Nicole Jarvis, and I am from here, Grand Traverse County, just like all of us. And I really enjoyed the program. I met a lot of new people, and I learned about a lot of different positions in government. And I saw a lot of different views from different people there, and I thought that was really interesting. And it was really nice to kind of get involved and tour a bunch of different places and learn a lot about government.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations to all of you.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Just great.
Talk about envying someone's frequent flyer miles, Larry.
They've got them.
All right, this brings us to Finance Department. Dean, we have general fund trial balances and budget adjustments. Do you have any comments you want to make?
Just real briefly, I think looks like page 64 is our March trial balance for the general fund. Not really a lot to report. I mean, if you look at our revenue versus expenditure, revenues do take a while to catch up because of the main revenue source, you know, is our tax revenue, which is not levied until July 1st. But based on the next two pages, 65 and 66, which is what I use to make sure we're in track with our budget, you'll see a comparison with the prior year. And for your purposes, I try to explain those differences. I mean, no 2 years are the same. The main difference on the revenues compared with the prior year is we billed our indirect cost revenue earlier this year by 2 months. We actually had those invoices done in March versus May of the prior year. And then the state grant revenue, I'm indicating we have a timing difference there, but in effect I have a difference of opinion with our auditors. This is for our liquor or the convention facility payment. We are now receiving 4 payments annually versus 3. We historically have not received a payment for the October through December collections. And what I had done in the prior year, I recorded that 4th payment as revenue in 2013. My auditors have told me that they don't like that, and they're trying to encourage me, and they'll win that argument, that revenue should be recorded in last year. So even though it's reported as a timing difference here, we will probably, and I have the ability with them to, you know, propose an adjustment after closing. I'm just working out with them what we did last year versus this year, and more than likely I will agree with them that should be recorded as, and what happened there, we historically have received 3 payments, and because the state has paid off some of their debt related to some of their facilities, it frees up revenue from the convention facility collections that are now going to the counties. But we historically had only received 3 payments, now we're getting 4. So it's not really a variance. It's more than likely a revenue that will be recognized in the prior year, so, which is not a bad thing, it's just when we record it.
Don't we have to share that with, or don't we have to make payments to the addiction treatment for that?
Yes, but
will we have to pay them more money because of this now?
We give them, based on statute, 50% for substance abuse programs, and that's pretty much done on a cash basis. Where and what year that's recorded doesn't affect that, and that is budgeted. That's, you know, on the other side of the budget that you approve. On the expenditure side of things, you can see that there are our expenditures through March this year are higher than they were a year ago, but I've explained that in the other category, it's the timing of when we made the payment to for mental health, which is pretty close to that entire variance. And then also the other main difference is just the timing of the transfers. Not so much the timing, but we do have higher appropriations to the Parks and Recreation Fund and to facilities based on, you know, just higher budgets for those departments. So everything is in line with budget through the end of March, and there's really nothing I'm concerned about at this point, so. And then, as the chairman indicated, I do have a number of budget adjustments that I would ask for your approval on. The one that I would like to point out on the middle of page 68, the state did not give us a lot of time to make the transfer of the economic development funds to the regional fund. I think Gene received the letter on Monday, and we had to have the payment made by Friday of that week. So that's the budget amendment to cover the transfer of the EDC program income to the regional fund. It's a large amount, and I just thought that warranted additional explanation. That transfer has been made.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the budget adjustments as presented.
Support. Motion by Inman, supported by Limcool. Is there further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. All right, that brings us to administration, and we're going to get to the questions raised by Mr. Klaus regarding the drain commissioner.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I'd like to recuse myself.
thank you. The clerk will note that Commissioner Lathrop has recused himself from this discussion. David, you want to start? or-
Yes, as Mr. Klaus indicated earlier, we met on April 2nd, and we discussed a number of things in lots of details, but I tried to distill them into the questions in this memo on page 71. And I think that, I pulled the travel vouchers and so forth, so that the obvious answer to the question that Mr. Klaus raised was, yes, there was some things that were spent on stormwater and soil erosion. The audit committee disallowed a few things in those travel vouchers, but not all of them, and I think some of them are a little vague on whether they, the audit committee did the work on that. I can't really respond.
I can speak to that if you'd like. In 2012, well, actually, was it, let's see.
13, yeah.
It was in 2012 that we switched duties. I
Yes.
believe it was December
Yes.
of 2012. And in 2013, there was confusion in the townships and in the villages. And in many instances, and still to this day, there is confusion. The drain commissioner is called to a township or a village, and he's asked drainage questions. Now, in many instances, until he takes a look at what their issue is, he doesn't know if it involves a drainage district, if it's soil erosion, if it's stormwater runoff. He has no clue. Most of the time, and I spoke with him this week, most of the time he instructs telephone callers, residents, to call construction code or to call their township if it involves stormwater runoff, most of the time. And that occurred, as you might imagine, in large numbers in this last week. But occasionally, there are questions where he feels he needs to go out and look. And in those, or he is called specifically to answer questions, just as Commissioner Inman, when we were talking about septic treatment facility problems, was asked by Acme Township to attend BPW meetings. And that was before the county board voted on some serious issues regarding whether there'd be an investigation, et cetera, et cetera. Commissioner Inman was asked to go to those meetings. And we did not treat the drain commissioner any different than we treat county commissioners, in our opinion. Commissioner Thomas approves some of those expenses. I approve some of those expenses. Commissioner Inman approved some of those expenses, and we denied some of those expenses. We used our best judgment, and we tried to be fair. Okay?
The second item was the annual report, and he has submitted a...
Can we, maybe if we don't mind, because Bill wanted to talk about these individually.
Sure.
Bill, do you get the answer that you wanted in regard to question number one then?
Yes, I understand that, what I believe I gleaned out of this is that...
Sonny, he needs to come to the microphone if you're going to allow him to speak.
So we can hear you.
Otherwise, we can't hear you on the TV.
So what I do understand of all that is that there are expenses to the county for the drain commissioner dealing with stormwater and soil erosion issues.
Shouldn't be soil erosion.
No,
He's not doing soil erosion.
no.
Well, I understand he's not supposed to be, but I understand that the explanation just now was that he may be responding to stormwater or soil erosion issues, and
No, that was not my answer. My answer was, in many instances, he does not know if it should involve a drainage district, which is his responsibility by state statute, unless he goes and looks.
okay,
That's what I said.
all right. And it would seem reasonable that if he was aware of the address that he was headed to, he would know if it was in the drainage district or not.
That's not what I said.
Well, no, I understand that's not what you said, but it would seem reasonable that,
The drain commissioner's responsibility in many instances is to create drainage districts,
correct.
unless he goes and looks at what he's may or may not create. I mean, am I
Well-
explaining this at all, that how anyone understands? I mean,
I think,
The truth of the matter is, the only place he should go is where they have a stormwater ordinance, like Fife Lake or Fife Lake Village. And I think, I don't know if
designated.
East Bay's got one, and Peninsula's working on it. I don't know if they have one either. But other than that, like if he went to Green Lake, they don't have a stormwater ordinance.
But they do in fact have a drainage district. I think the question.
They have
I think the
county
question
drainage.
is,
They do, yeah.
if he responds to an area which is within a county drain, that's fine. A drainage district cannot be established by the drain commissioner. The drainage district has to be applied for by the residents of the community. So as far as other areas other than designated drainage districts, I don't believe he should be responding to those sites and charging fees to the county for them.
I think he has 11 drains. in the
Yeah,
county,
something like that.
And 2 lakes.
Okay, so we're clear on that one, Bill, kind of?
Well, kind of. I mean, we do understand that it's costing the county money then.
Well, we're working on making sure that it doesn't continue to do that. The second question, David, do you want to respond?
Was the annual report on April 3rd, the day after Bill and I met, the Drain Commissioner submitted a 2012-2013 annual report and went through the process to get it posted on the website, and I don't know if Bill wants to comment on that or not.
Yeah, I see that it's posted on the website, and I see the website's been cleaned up.
We've been working on that.
I think there was still some issues for me in that 2012-13 report that still made reference to stormwater and soil erosion issues that, I'm hoping that we're getting cleared up along the way as part of that.
As do I. I understand the prosecutors in that as well.
Yeah, we are. The prosecutor's been involved trying to clarify what duties and responsibilities have been set up, that the Drain Commissioner is involved in this. And I think...
Yeah, we looked at the stormwater ordinance, we made some revisions there, we made suggested revisions to the application, so we're working with the Drain Commissioner on these type of issues.
It would seem that on the Drain Commissioner's homepage that there would be something directing people to the proper office for soil erosion issues to help eliminate any confusion, and as well as anything else that's beyond the statutory scope or responsibility for the Drain Commissioner.
And I think we can be working on that.
Could we just can I have a status of what's going on with this whole thing? We're working on it, but I'm not sure who's working on what.
Well, the prosecutor and the administration office are trying to clean up the websites, and along with construction code to make sure that all soil erosion issues are forwarded to construction code department, because they do all the the soil erosion permits and
Which we've kind of
inspections.
been asking for, is that correct?
Yes, and we're getting there.
Okay, now question 2. Are we supposed to have a report yearly or biannually?
Annually.
Okay, so there should have been a report for 12, in 12, is that what we're saying here?
We should have
End of
received,
12?
we should have received a 2012 report at the early part of 2013.
Okay. Is there a reason for that we've established? Why this was a 2-year deal?
I don't know that we have a reason for that.
The administrator have an answer for that?
No,
Okay. Go ahead.
it is what it is.
In regard to question number 3, I think we've kind of talked about that. We're working on cleaning up the web pages to be more accurate in referring people to the proper places. Is that correct, Dave?
Yes, and the prosecutor drafted or sent a letter to the Drain Commissioner clarifying some of the things that needed to be taken out of applications, letterhead, and permits. And basically, I think everything is being cleaned up at this point.
Herb, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I think Bill's got a good comment, though, that if there was a way to be able to direct people to the proper office, if they have questions on soil, stormwater, that would be an excellent idea to be able to put on that part of the website.
Okay, that pretty well takes care of number 3, I believe. Are you okay with that? Or do you have a question, Bill?
I've got a comment on number 3, that the last 2 lines of the last sentence on number 3, but the Drain Commissioner is an elected official that is ultimately responsible to the electorate. That's, if I recall correctly, one of the reasons why the soil erosion duties were removed from the Drain Commissioner's office, so that the county could have a party responsible that would be an employee of the county that could be held responsible for that performance. And that I'm aware of, and I could be totally unaware, I don't think that this process relative to cleaning up websites, causing people to perform their responsibilities correctly and not assume other responsibilities that are not theirs, I don't think that's ever had to been dealt with the current soil erosion office, which is at the county building where the building code office is. Or has there been some issues relative to soil erosion in that department?
I'm not sure if I understand the question.
All I'm really saying is that, this commission and the county has spent a lot of money and taken a lot of time trying to get the Drain Commissioner's office cleaned up so that he's focused on his statutory duties and responsibilities. I'm not aware that there had to be any actions or activities undertaken to do the same with the soil erosion department because it runs by the book.
It's my understanding from the people that I deal with that the soil erosion requirements are being met very well by the situation being handled under the jurisdiction of the Construction Code Office.
That's exactly my understanding.
Dave, do you have something?
Yeah, I think that the Drain Commissioner being an elected official ultimately responsive to the electorate is in reference to the previous clause, which says that it's, we can ask the Drain Commissioner the board can ask the Drain Commissioner to do things, but the Drain Commissioner is ultimately responsible to them. There's nothing the board can do to force the Drain Commissioner to do anything. Having said that, the Drain Commissioner has been cooperative since we've been working with him, and I think we can get to the point where we'll make everyone happy with what the outcome will be. But in his defense, I'd also like to say this is, he's doing this by himself, and he used to have a staff that got all moved away, and now he has got to do it all by himself, and I don't think he has the website talent to do that, and that's not a crime, and it's certainly not in his job description. But with our assistance, he's been cooperative for us to get the public information out there cleaned up and accurate, and I think we'll get there eventually.
And in the days of Warren Verhaeg and Virgil Thayer, they operated the entirety of the department by themselves just fine.
Okay. So, different folks and different responsibilities, different community, in different times. And there aren't very many of us in the room, Bill, that still remember those days, but things were a lot less complicated back then, too. So. All right, I think that will bring us to Number 4.
Oh, no, I'd like to comment
Oh,
on
I'm
this.
sorry, Chris, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, never mind. Keep going.
Sorry. Did you have something else?
No, keep going, I've got my notes here.
Okay. In regard to...
Chime in at the end.
In regard to number 4, the soil erosion duties of the drain commissioner were removed. Have we covered that, or do we want to add something in that regard, David, or Bill? I think
we covered that already, didn't we?
I think we've pretty well taken care of that. Okay, I guess the only thing that I had in regard to number 4 is in December of 2013, the Board of Commissioners allowed the Drain Commissioner to administer Fife Lake Villages and Fife Lake Townships ordinance. Somehow or another, I think we should clarify that we authorize Kevin McKellier to enforce those. It is not a function of the Drain Commissioner.
Right.
Well, that's correct.
Yeah, that's a private.
Right. This kind of comes back to me when we authorized our equalization director to deal with level 4 assessments in Leelanau County. This is something where we've allowed a county employee or a county official to enforce non-Grand Traverse County ordinances. But I believe we should note there that authorization was for him personally, not the position of the Drain Commissioner.
Right.
Chris, do you have a comment?
I do. It is my understanding that Kevin McKellier, who is a landscape architect and has a great deal of education, can work for a township just like an engineering firm can work for a township and consult or answer their questions. And regarding stormwater, I believe Garfield uses Gordy Fraser and Associates as their stormwater enforcer. They could choose, if they wanted to, they could choose, as Fife Lake Village and Fife Lake Township did, they could choose Kevin McKellier, which is a different issue than his role as Drain Commissioner. Okay. I just wanted to...
I guess my point is that as far as I'm concerned, the authorization to allow him to enforce Fife Lake Township and Fife Lake Village's ordinance is him as an individual. And we should not have it that the Grand Traverse County Drain Commissioner is enforcing their township ordinances.
You're exactly right about that.
Right.
Would that be correct, Chris?
That makes sense.
I fully agree with that, and I think he should remove that off the county website.
Do you have a comment, or does anyone else have a comment? Herb?
Yeah, the only thing I was going to say is that if he's doing work for Fife Lake and Fife Lake Village, he should not be getting any kind of mileage for that.
That's correct.
So, yeah.
Charlie?
Also, it's a little different when Gordy Fraser's working for someone and then an employee of the county is doing that kind of work. It causes confusion, is all I can tell you. When an employee of the county is subletting himself for a service. Gordy Fraser, Wade Trim, these guys should be doing that stuff. I agree with that 100%. And I think Kevin has all the right to do it as well. But not looking like the Drain Commissioner while he's doing it. He has to separate himself from the two. And I think that's all people are asking.
Chris?
I think that your comment is exactly correct. However, I want you to understand that the county surveyor does contract work for other individuals and does not come before the county board every time he's asked to do it. It is my understanding from my conversation with the Drain Commissioner that he came in front of the county board out of courtesy to let us know that he had been asked and had agreed to do Fife Lake Village and Fife Lake Township at no cost to the county. What Fife Lake Village and Fife Lake Township asked us was if the prosecutor would be willing to, based upon their experience, they wanted the county prosecutor to do the enforcement, if necessary. And Fife Lake Village and Fife Lake Township said they would do it, they would make sure that there would be no cost to Grand Traverse County. And that is what our motion was.
That's true.
So I want to clarify that.
Okay, do we adequately cover that, Bill?
Well, I guess my question is that if he's doing it personally and not as drain commissioner, then it should be that Fife Lake stormwater enforcement stuff should be removed from the county's website, because we don't have Gordy Frazier with a page on the county website, you know, that enforces for maybe Garfield Township. We don't have Wade Trim on the county website that maybe enforces for East Bay. So I honestly think that the Fife Lake stuff on behalf of Mr. McKellier individually, not as drain commissioner, should not belong on the county website.
Yeah, I agree.
You have to agree with that.
I believe I'm seeing head nodding that
Yeah,
we are in
I agree.
agreement with that, and that information will be removed.
Just one, when do you expect to have all the verbiage, our legal counsel done with this whole thing so we can move on? It's been going on for a couple years or whatever.
It's getting there.
I hope that maybe by next week we can have some sort of a timeline for you.
Appreciate that.
You know, after the discussion tonight with Mr. Klaus, who brought up the questions, the responses that the administrator have given, the work that the prosecutor is doing, I would hope that by next week we can have at least a timeline that we will have all of this cleaned up, if that's acceptable to commissioners.
Sounds good to me. I'd like to see some timeline.
Okay. That would bring us to question number 5, I believe. Who can hold the drain commissioner accountable for doing his job, stop him from interfering with administration of soil erosion functions, and stop him from misleading public stormwater ordinance? Dave, do you have a comment?
Yeah, it's public, misleading the public on stormwater ordinances, I believe is the question. Yeah, I mean, the answer is, again, we can ask. If a resident calls up and says, well, they dial the drain commissioner's office and say they have a soil erosion issue, it's up to the drain commissioner to decide how he's going to dispose of that, by either transferring them to soil erosion or hanging up on them or giving them a number to call or what. I mean, but the Board of Commissioners can ask for him to, be as forthcoming with the public as possible on where the proper place to have that addressed is. But it's up to the drain commissioner to take actions. So that's all. That was my answer. It was, we can ask.
Yeah, we can't tell them.
We can't tell them.
Just because somebody comes here and says that he's not doing that doesn't make it so. Somebody could drive by my house and say that it's purple. It isn't. It's orange. And just because somebody says it's purple doesn't make it so. And I will tell you that I did speak to the drain commissioner this week after the flooding. He called me back promptly. He said that he had received dozens of telephone calls asking about the flooding, etc. And without exception, he answered as many phone calls as he possibly could. I mean, obviously, if somebody wasn't there, he wasn't able to. But he returned every single phone call, and in every instance, he said that he referred them either to soil erosion or said possibly they should contact their township or village because it was stormwater runoff. And just because someone comes here and says that this is occurring doesn't make it so.
Well, I fully agree that just because someone says something doesn't make it so.
But I guess the point is, the best thing we can do is we can ask the drain commissioner to refer those and hope that that is in fact happening. We can make sure that there's no reference to stormwater on the county's website or on the county-run drain commissioner's website.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Herb?
I think it's important to note also that, by Bill coming here and bringing this issue to our attention, hopefully it makes each of those offices stronger, so that they are providing the services that they necessarily have to do so. And, I'd just like to say thank you, and hopefully that we can continue to provide the services that the community does require, so, in an efficient way.
Chris?
Well, I don't share Commissioner Lemkool's perspective. And at some point in time, somebody needs to acknowledge what is going on here. And I'm going to read part of a Record Eagle article. It was printed November 20th, 2007. And it says, state and county officials are beginning to make noises about taking developer Bill Klaus back to court. In 2004, Klaus agreed to a consent judgment with Grand Traverse County and Michigan Department of Environmental Quality over allegations he illegally bulldozed wetlands in portions of his 360-acre East Bay Township property. Now, in 2004, if memory serves me, Maureen Kennedy was the drain commissioner. I don't believe Drain Commissioner McKellier took office until 2005, so he basically inherited this. The major enforcement actions of the agreement have been completed, but 2 items continue to drag on 3 years later, including easement signage and sediment traps to preserve a creek. They need to comply and finish the job, said Michigan Attorney General spokesman Matt Friendway. If they continue to fail to comply, we'll go to court to force them to comply, including financial penalties. Officials said the consent agreement did not spell out a specific time frame for accomplishing the tasks, but the work should still be completed in a reasonable time. Now, this consent judgment, according to the Record Eagle article, was in 2004. This article was printed November 20th of 2007. And the last line is, I'd be the first to say 3 years is too long, said Bob Cooney, Deputy Grand Traverse County Prosecuting Attorney. And at some point, we need to acknowledge what is going on here. Now, that having been said, I also think we need to address a policy. What is our policy for handling these issues? I'm looking at this letter from our county administrator, and it says, I spent approximately an hour with Mr. Klaus listening to his concerns. Now, we cannot have people come in and spend, a large number of people spend an inordinate amount of our administrators' time. I think we need a process. Years ago, I had an issue. This was when Pete Strom was my commissioner, and Wayne Schmidt was the chairman, and I had an issue, and there was a process. I was told to contact my county commissioner. I contacted Pete Strom. I gave him my concerns. He met with the chairman, Wayne Schmidt. They scheduled an appointment with Dennis Aloya, and they heard my issue. But there was a process. And I'm not seeing one here. And I'm not willing to continue. I think this is 2 different questions. One question, we've answered Mr. Klaus's questions in the memo. The real question is, what policy are we going to have moving forward when people bring issues to the county board? Not just anybody should be taking up the administrator's limited time, unless you want to give him a deputy administrator. And that's my opinion.
Yeah, I think that we did have a policy, that we had a public comment, we asked the administrator to address the issues and to spend the time to be able to make sure they're taken care of. That's our process. So, I don't think he did anything that we didn't direct him to do.
Charlie?
I think that's exactly right. We instructed the administrator to contact or be in touch with Bill Klaus directly and see what they could come up with. So I think that is a process.
I think we have to be open. We have to make sure the public understands that if they got an issue, that we can be able to sit down and take care of it.
David, do you have anything you wanted to add?
No. I think this has been addressed.
Sure. Again, I agree that just because someone says it doesn't make it so. But also, Christine, you or any of the commissioners could have took it upon themselves to clean up the website, to raise the issues, get it dealt with. You could have done everything that I've taken task to do. I've chosen to do it because you didn't. Thank you.
All right.
Moving on.
Moving on down. The updated per diem policy was put into your packet. I believe RMNA forwarded that to the county board meeting
Yeah,
for next week. There are a couple other notes on your desk this evening. This was published on the agenda, so we can have additional discussion if you choose to tonight.
Just to update, Mr. Chairman, when I was having problems with my little computer here,
Yes.
I went in to see if it was fixed, and Chris gave me this hard copy, and then I said, well, what's up with the per diem policy update? And I said, we need to play that back. So we did, and it was pretty clear that she just missed it, that it was supposed to be on the board agenda to give commissioners enough time to bring further comments. Now, we did receive two, one from Commissioner Rennie and one from Commissioner Max Bauer. My suggestion is that we just defer this to the board meeting and give the other commissioners time, if they wish, to make remarks, and we could just try to hammer out a consensus at the board meeting at that time.
Yeah, I'd like to read this.
Yeah, and I think both of them really had good comments
Okay.
for us to consider.
We have received, since this came out in RMNA last week, we received comments from the prosecuting attorney's office, from Commissioner Max Bauer, and from Commissioner Rennie. Unless someone has some reason, I'm just going to defer the rest of the discussion until next week's meeting.
That's fine.
It's not next week, it's the week after, isn't it?
Week after
Thank
the
you.
Board of Commissioners meeting, yeah. Okay. I think that brings us down to
We're going to
announcements.
do this?
What's that?
Oh, the proclamation.
Oh, yeah, David, you had asked to add this resolution opposing spending mandates.
Yes. Commissioner, Commissioner
I was complaining
Inman.
about it.
Commissioner Inman was complaining about it.
I was the
and,
one complaining about it.
And the board asked me to bring something back this week, and, or actually later. I did check with Mac on where we were with it. It hasn't moved much, but there is a couple of changes out there. The executive's actually changed his mind. He wants to add some different blips to the county incentive program, and we're already subject to the county incentive program. We just haven't been in formula all the way up to this point. We've been using our local tax dollars to subsidize the state of Michigan for their budget problems since 2005.
Right.
And now we've expended all of our local tax dollars in 2015. We're going to ask them to replenish that like they promised back in 2004. But they were going to, if things went the way they had been, they'd cut it so many times that now we were looking at a $700,000 loss next year. And they want to, in order to get this money, to get 100% of this money, the amendments are now to require that 5% of the funds be given to local roads, and unless we have taken over the road commission, we don't support local roads with general fund dollars, which is what revenue sharing is supposed to be. And the other 5% has to be spent on unfunded pension liabilities, which is not a problem for us. We can do that, no problem. We've been paying our ARC right along. It's been difficult because it keeps going up, but yes. So I prepared this resolution because what they're actually saying is we're going to tell you how to spend your money. Or the money, if we're going to give you this money, you can spend it on roads. Why they don't just cut revenue sharing and increase road commission appropriations is beyond me, because it's all the same, it's exactly the same thing. And the same thing goes for unfunded pension liabilities, but they are spending mandates. They're saying, we are going to tell you in this legislation how to spend this money. And I just think we ought to be opposed to the whole concept of telling us that we must spend on something.
If the state wants to designate money to a specific purpose, they should spend the money to the specific surface, not put out the guys that they're giving money back to the counties and then designate that we have to spend that.
On their priorities, yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve this resolution.
Second.
Opposing the proposed spending mandates for the county revenue sharing incentive program for financial budget 2015.
Okay. Have a motion by Lemko, supported by Thomas. Further discussion? Charlie?
Thank you.
We're
Thank you,
seeing a
Dave.
lot of things come out of the governor's office now, and all this is pushing for collaboration and working together. And in a way, he can say, if you're spending 5% of that money on your pension liabilities, it's still your money you would have to spend. So it's sort of like what the school systems are saying here. They're getting a cut, but this money that they would have had to spend has already been covered. I think the governor's trying to tell us a little bit of how we should go forward and move it in the direction with respect to what would be best for the state. I think we're going to see more and more of those incentives for these funds as we go forward. This is, you can see it on the horizon.
Sure.
Totally. So I don't know what good it really does.
Just because I can see it on the horizon doesn't mean that I agree with it.
But it's happening, is what I'm saying.
I know, but the citizens of our community elect us to spend county dollars in the best interest of the community as a whole, and I don't appreciate the fact that someone in the governor's office or the Treasury Department, I believe was the last person I heard was going to audit this thing, is going to designate to us how we're going to spend the tax dollars that are available to us.
They're basically stating that we don't know how to spend our money properly. And, I think our county does a very good job at spending its money the way it needs to be done in a proper allocation.
I guess I just have a question, because of the historical, the way this thing got played out, is that, I'm just wondering, Dave, if we just need to be a little bit stronger in the language that says that, initially, revenue sharing was to offset the costs for counties to maintain and pay for courts. And they have not, and that's what we want our money for.
Well, I think
Do we need to
probably-
make that point, or what?
I think there's probably very few people in Lansing today.
They don't remember
with
that,
term
or aren't
limits
even
and
there.
everything else that even remember the fact that revenue sharing was given to the counties because of the fact that the state quit funding courts and put the responsibility, the financial responsibility on the counties. With term limits and everything else being what they are, we literally have no one left in Lansing that remembers what happened in 2004.
You got it.
I think a lot of those are county commissioners, and so they were part of that on the other side. So hopefully they carry that memory with them.
Hopefully they remember.
Yeah. And I'm sure Mr. Schmidt does very well.
I'm sure I've reminded.
Well, other than the 5% going to local roads, I don't have a big problem with the county incentive program, having the dashboard for the public's accountability and transparency, and I don't have a problem with the collaboration efforts, because we've got a laundry list of collaboration efforts here in Grand Traverse County. We will have no problem meeting those goals. But when you get to the 5% to local roads, I mean, that's just a cut to revenue sharing for me. It's just saying, we're not going to give you full funding, we're going to cut it by 5%, and we're going to give it to local roads.
No, what they're really saying is, we don't want to
We've got a problem with local roads, and we don't want to address it. We'll just take your money and address it.
Yeah, we don't want to address road funding, so we're going to take the money out of your revenue sharing to do that.
Wrong.
That's what they're saying.
I was reading last night a bill that's coming out of the House that designates $500 million to roads, and a Senate response that says that the need is $1.3 billion, so I'm not going to support the $500 million. And it's like, I somehow or another, I don't understand that kind of logic. Chris?
Well, another issue that it gets under my skin is the state, or the governor, suggesting that state of Michigan taxpayers come up with $500 million to save Detroit's art.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. We have a promise here of revenue sharing, and it was made in 2004. Keep your promise. I like art as much as the next person, but a promise was made, and counties around the state of Michigan are depending upon that funding.
Is there any further discussion in regard to the resolution? Roll call vote to pass the resolution, please.
Thomas?
Yep.
Inman?
Yes.
Rennie?
Yes.
Lathrop?
Yes.
Max Bauer?
Yes.
Lemkool?
Yep.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am. The approved resolution will be forwarded to the governor and our representatives and Senator Walker.
Could I clarify, that's for immediate approval, correct?
Yes, sir. Okay, that brings us through all
If
of the...
you're going to have immediate approval, you need a roll call vote.
We did a
We
roll
just
call vote.
took one.
We just got done.
Oh, I see.
Did you just vote yes?
That's
All
why
right.
that's why they called your name.
What I missed was the roll call vote was for immediate approval. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah, well, we meant that.
All
All
right.
right, we have
We
no
didn't
business...
say it, we meant
No
it.
new business posted to the to the agenda. Second opportunity for public comment. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to make comment at this time?
They have to line up.
Seeing none, Commissioner Committee reports?
I have just one item.
Yes.
On claims for April 22nd, it appears though Commissioner Max Bauer and myself will not be available for that meeting. So we're going to ask if someone would like to volunteer, maybe
We'll get her done.
Chairman Lemkool could be assigned to that committee, for that day.
He knows he's
Is that
already
fine?
hooked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no problem.
Okay.
Commissioner Limcool, Chairman of the Board, will act with Commissioner Thomas to take care of claims and accounts on April 22nd.
All right,
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Further comments? Chris?
I have telephoned several of you personally. Obviously, Sunny was my first call. I let other commissioners know. The Parks Board has been researching ways, well, let me give a little history to the public. I went to a Parks conference in Grand Rapids, and one of the things that came out of that Parks conference was business plans for parks. It's what the state of Michigan is doing successfully all over the place. So as we got new members on the Parks Board, we developed a business development team. And the first two parks we looked at, of course, are Power Island, and they developed a business plan for that, and Twin Lakes. And they're working actually on Twin Lakes right now. And in the process, Elisa Kropa, and I have such respect for her, said, you know what, we really need to know what we can and cannot do. And she called Mr. Cooney and asked him to please research, or perhaps he delegated that to Mr. Forsyth, research what we could and could not do out at Twin Lakes. And as it turns out, there are no deed restrictions regarding alcohol out at Twin Lakes. Mr. Cooney or Mr. Forsyth went back and looked at minutes. We received copies of and information of past board meeting minutes, and there's just nothing there. First of all, I want to applaud our Parks President, Elisa Kropa. Second of all, I want to let you all know that the Parks Board did vote to permit events with alcohol out at North Twin Lake, at Twin Lakes Park. Events like weddings, and Sunny, I know you had your daughter's wedding out there, did you not? Well, if you have another one coming along, you can now have alcohol out there. But,
He doesn't want to do alcohol anyway.
I know, really. Anyway, weddings, reunions, I want to say graduations, but I'll put the word college in front of that because obviously you want to be age 21. Wine events.
How about beach parties?
Yeah, that's the question.
I did, just to let you all know, I was the lone, as you might imagine, the lone no vote primarily because I wanted to I wanted to prohibit swimming while these events were occurring.
Can't do it.
But I lost that vote. As a matter of fact, one of the commissioners asked the Parks Director, because he is going to be providing in the course of his permitting these events, he is going to be requiring security. And one of the things the Parks Director was asked by a commissioner during the meeting was, will you consider or can you include in your security requirements someone who's a certified lifeguard? And he responded yes. So in any event, I wanted to let you all know that alcohol is now permitted at Twin Lakes.
For scheduled events.
For scheduled events. For scheduled events.
For scheduled events.
Like beach party.
No.
Other comments, Herb?
Yeah, just to let you know that Department of Human Services has split their meetings. So the Pavilions Board will be, continue to be the last Friday of the month. But then the DHS Board for Department of Human Services will be next Tuesday at 9 o'clock in the morning. So, and that will probably continue on because the Pavilions Board seems to have more and more issues on their agenda, and that's left the Department of Human Services staff sitting in the lobby for over an hour waiting for the meeting to get started.
Good idea.
So they're going to separate those two meetings. The other thing is that the Conservation District has voted to go to the third Monday of the month instead of the second Monday. So they are also changing their schedule. I think Chris Kramer has got that information. And then also the native plant sale that's coming up, which they do every year on May 17th. So if you want some native plants, they have a wide variety. Go onto their website and you can find out what they have and what's unique, and so that you could be able to order those native plants to be planted in your on your property. So
We should note that website should be Nature is Calling.
Nature's Calling, yes.
natureiscalling.org.
Right. Thank you.
You're right, nature's calling.
Anything else, Charlie?
Herb, do you want to announce that employee recognition thing here Tuesday?
The employee recognition is also Tuesday at 9 o'clock. So we'll be having that, and I will be making that presentation on Tuesday at 9 o'clock also.
It would be great to see some commissioners there.
Well, I know two of them that will not be there.
Yeah.
We'll be in Florida.
Chris and I need to be excused.
We leave the 19th.
Yeah. It would be great if other commissioners were there, yes.
Anything else?
And just one note, so everybody knows, that was quite a fire last night they had out there on Shell Road. Well, it was just a house that burned, but
House burn. All right, they covered
caution
notices,
for
announcements.
Woodstock.
We have no need for a closed session.
Nope.
We'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Move for adjournment.
Motion by Inman, supported by Rennie. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.